In this episode of the Oracle Scroll, we're going to talk about spiritual tools, or spiritual toys, as the case may be. The things that we use to trigger intuition, the things that we use as reminders to bring us back to a spiritual center. How much power do we give them? How much power do they deserve? We're going to talk about that at length today. Welcome to the Oracle Scroll, a podcast for the spiritual seeker. Please join me, Kevin Walder, your host, as we explore living a spiritual life in a very mixed up world. Welcome to episode 33 of the Oracle Scroll. This one is going to deviate a little from our normal. I don't know if we have a normal anymore. Things have changed. So this is going to be a little different today. So we're going to talk about the spiritual tools, the spiritual toys, the things that we use as spiritual folks in our spiritual life, basically keeping us grounded or keeping us focused. And so the idea behind these toys is that they will actually help to spur us or trigger us or give us something that would connect us to intuition and perhaps our higher self to give us guidance. So there are times when these items will become over-endowed, let's say, with a particular person's assumptions and thoughts about what they represent and the power that they hold. I mean, we can talk about anything from the crystals on your altar. Okay, each of those has a significance. Most of the time, it's a significance that we ourselves have attributed to that particular stone because it appeals to us. It has a particular color, a particular nuance about it that makes it intriguing to us. So, we attribute certain strengths or power to that stone. From there, we might move toward objects of like amulets that we might wear on our person, or prayer beads we might wear or carry on our person. How powerful are those? Are those imbued with certain powers that we may be unaware of and that may be frightening to those around us? That's probably one of the biggest fallacies that I see as personally in our community is that these things possess or are possessed. So these are not, it's not a healthy place to start from. It's not a healthy place to exist. If you're feeling threatened by your tools, then you need new tools. And, well, perhaps you don't need new tools as much as you need a new way of looking at your tools. I don't know why it's taken me so long to learn some of these lessons, but I have recently become even more aware of how much our lives revolve around prophecy, self-fulfilling prophecy. Prophecies that we may or may not ever see come to fruition. And this subject came to the forefront for me recently when I was asked to speak on another podcast on the subject of Ouija boards. Now, there's probably not a single item in this world more polarizing than a Ouija board. It seems that everyone has an opinion, and many within our community and outside the community find it to be a fear-inspiring tool It's not something that is to be tampered with or played with. It is a very real and very important item that can be misused by either side. So when we approach something like this, and I have to kind of go back to the things that I talked about when we were doing a bit of ghost hunting some years ago, and the question came up. Now, I was with a group of people who would regularly and often, practically every weekend, walk into a room, a dark room, and say out loud, give us a sign, show us you're here, let us know something that would identify you, give us some kind of indication of the spirit that lives here and what we might expect of you. These people walk in with confidence and they say these words. So what's the difference between having a tool that might assist in communication and just going in and asking for an audience? I don't find there is a difference. I mean, the tool basically indicates to the spirit realm that you're ready, you're willing, you're able, and you really want to communicate. So that can allow that communication to happen. Now, let's be clear. Are there some people, or well, not necessarily people, are there some spirits you do not want to talk about? Or some spirits you do not want to have a visit from? Absolutely. There are people that have moved into the next realm that carry with them some baggage. So there are some folks that you really don't need to connect with. And that's not the purpose of a Ouija board. A Ouija board is there to enhance and actually encourage you to explore the other side. So when we consider using it, we do have to take precautions. And most of us in the spiritual community are well versed in psychic self-protection, being able to defend ourselves against a psychic attack, and those things are real. I'm not going to deny that those things are real. However, I will, with one caveat here, I will say that sometimes the things that are attributed to a spiritual attack or a psychic attack are more dealing with your perception of the occurrence than the actual occurrence. That actually, now see, that makes it sound like, oh, you just dreamed it up, you just imagined it. That doesn't make it any less real, okay? When you were a child and you knew that Santa Claus was coming, well, it didn't really matter when you found out that he didn't really exist, that he didn't really exist. It didn't matter to you. You still played along because that belief had an element of excitement and expectation and things that you needed to look forward to. So what I'm saying is, most of the time, things that get perceived as an attack, and I'm not saying they are not attacks, I am just saying that the effect of the attack could be quite exaggerated by expectation. And let's face it, religion has done its part to encourage the expectation of evil and foreboding if you were to consult a tool that is not church approved. Now, there are those who feel that things like prayer beads and even the rosary can be considered another tool that can be possessed. It can bring to you spirits that you do not wish to speak with. Now, let's face it, any twig you pick up off the ground outside could bring a spirit you don't want to talk to. I mean, they're all, if we believe that divinity surrounds us, then everything else in this system, this world, also surrounds us. Are we going to allow that particular that particular fear to guide us and govern our lives? I don't find it to be a particularly profitable or a minimal kind of thing to do. I think we need to work on opening to experience much more than we need to work on closing them down. We've become experts at closing them down. How many people have you talked to who have a keen spiritual awareness, who spent years with it locked down tightly because they were not given the approval, or they were given the outright objection of those around them? So, yes, we do need to be cautious, we need to be careful, but that doesn't mean that it's kind of like crossing the street. Yes, you need to be careful. It doesn't mean you don't cross the street. It just means you need to take precautions and make sure that you are sufficiently protected, that you are protected within. And that is probably the one thing that will set these things in a different light. Tools like pendulums, pendulum boards, spirit boards or Ouija boards, the same thing. Those are basically just tools. Tarot cards. I spend a tremendous amount of my time with the tarot, and the tarot is a particularly clear signal to our spiritual intuition, and it gives us so much information that is just it's impossible to digest it all at times, because it's like an information dump. So when you consult the tarot, you get a variety and a volume of information that can be very helpful to you. And whether it's a new way of looking at things as you go forward, or it's an outright warning that, oops, this may not have been your best decision. How will you undo that? Or, oops, you may need to rethink, and let's take another stab at this one. So there are triggers to our intuition, and that's where the real power lies. It's all in your head. Oh my gosh, how many times have we heard that said in jest? It's all in your head, but it is really all in your head. There is a school of thought in the hypnosis community that when you are under hypnosis, you have finally awakened. That until you awaken in hypnosis, you are actually living in a hypnotized state. You are programmed. You believe every single thing that is around you, such as the sky is blue, and the grass is green, and the ocean is blue, and the mountain is white. I mean, those things are just kind of until the time of day arrives when it's sunset and the sky is, oh my God, absolutely gorgeous and anything but blue. I mean, it's rose, it's magenta, it's got all the colors of the rainbow visible, and none of them are blue. Or the middle of the summer when your grass is brown, it ain't green no more. So all of those things come back into play. What do you expect? So when you look at a scene, it does look otherworldly sometimes. And as an artist, I see these things. It's like, no, this doesn't conform. It doesn't. So you can actually take artistic license and you can construct your own world in that confine. But it's a trigger. It's a trigger to help you understand that what you see and what you think and what you believe may not be exactly so. And you may need to adjust. You may need to think about it again. You may need to seek others' opinion. So on that subject of what power do they deserve and what power do we give them, I have an immense respect for my tarot cards. I keep them very clean and carefully put away. I do not mix them up. I keep them in separate, boxes so that they are complete, and I'm not looking for lost cards. Nothing infuriates me more than to find lost cards within a deck. So basically, I'm giving them a great deal of respect. My prayer beads, I keep prayer beads on hand at all times. I have some that are a long strand that would fit around my neck. I have 2 or 3 that are short strands that would fit as a bracelet. They serve the same purpose. They just help me to remember that these are my prayers. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm hoping for. And they just help me center on that. It brings me back. Because let's face it, our minds love to wander, and having that little bead pass your thumb gives you a little bit of grounding. It brings you back and say, oh, okay, this is where I was. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm doing. When it comes to pendulums, I've always found pendulums to be extremely fascinating. And I've always said that from the very beginning, when I was just starting to play in this field, I found that a pendulum was the very first spiritual tool that I picked up that actually worked from the beginning, immediately. Tarot takes a little bit of time to learn the lay of the land. Using prayer beads, that's a lot. That's some more memory work again. But all of these tools take a little bit of practice to get used to. And I'll be honest, a spirit board or Ouija board, something like that, is something that takes a lot of practice. Okay. Spirit is capable of so much. And the spirits on the other side, depending on their strength, they're capable of doing a lot to let you know they're here, let you know that they are with you, or providing some guidance or warning. But it is very difficult for them to move something physically. Is a tremendous amount of energy that they don't necessarily have at their disposal. So what I'm saying is that getting some energetic help with moving the planchen around the board or moving the pendulum around the board, those things that takes quite a lot of energy from the other side. So being patient and observant and knowing that it's going to take a little while. You're probably not going to get a good hit the very first time that you attempt to use it. But it can be a tool. I've said from the beginning, I do own these items. I have a couple in my possession that I rarely use. I usually find that most of my information comes to me in meditation. I can accomplish most of what I would do with a Ouija board in meditation. Ouija board sometimes is used to connect two human minds with the spirit realm. So it's more of a cooperative kind of arrangement, where the other tools are more individual. You might use them singularly, where moving the planchen, actually the more energy that you can apply physically, be yourself and other participants, the more likely you are to get some tangible results that you can rely upon. So, if I were going to sum this all up in a nutshell, I would say everything that you touch has the potential to be a charm, has the potential to be a lucky charm, has the potential to be a warning, has the potential to assist you in bringing your intuition to bear in a situation that you may not have been ready and willing to do. Do not give these tools the energy that they don't deserve. They are just tools. And as I say, if you're a mechanic and you're making a house call, but you stop along the road and you heave your tool chest out the side window and then proceed to the call, how effective are you going to be? This is why we have to try to differentiate between what controls us and what assists us in control. And the tool can be a great assistant in control, as long as we don't fearfully give it the personality or the propensity to be an evil construct, something that would come to just cause harm and wreak havoc in our world. Most of the energies that you will encounter anywhere, whether it be on a ghost hunt or using a Ouija board or just using your pendulum, most of the spirit energies that you will encounter just want recognition. They just want you to know that they're here. They want you to know that it's okay, and they are providing information. Some will have a message that will be quite pertinent and important, something that you want to listen to, and something you'll want to share with those around you. So these are the things you want to tap into. And your super consciousness, you're more connected to this spirit realm than you ever will realize, because we've been molded into believing that those two realms are so totally separate, and they aren't. We can invite those people and those entities that we know are helpful to us. We can invite them to join our journey and accompany us, and to begin to understand the power that we possess. And that brings me to another point. On a certain level, when we give away that power, when we say, oh, that board's got evil all over it and I can't have it in my house, I can't touch that, I don't want my kids near it. I mean, there's all kinds of arguments for this thing. When we do that, we have decided that we no longer have any power in that area. We have sacrificed and we've abdicated our situation so that we don't possess the power in that area any longer. And that is where the real danger lies. We allow fear to take over, and we deny our own power. It has taken so many years for so many of us to realize our own power and then to shrink back from it in fear. That, to me, is quite sad. It is something we need to address. We need to start embracing and bring in our power and use the tools as they are intended. Use them properly and they will serve you well. Use them improperly. I mean, let's face it, how many times have you been successful at driving a nail with a saw? That doesn't work, okay? That's the basic where we are with these tools as well. If you're using the wrong tools, or you're using tools that you have a particular feeling about, that you are concerned about, then that's not the tool that's going to help you. Okay? But it's not the tool's fault. It's not anything possessed of the tool. It is your own perception, your own fear, your own reluctance that will cause the tool to deliver. Because we get what we expect. Again, back to that self-fulfilling prophecy. We get what we expect. So if we walk in to a situation, and as I mentioned in the other podcast that I was talking to a small group of ghost hunters, and if we walk into a room with fear and trepidation, and you're clutching your cross and your Bible, and that's an unhealthy place to be, because that's not what this hunt is all about. And it triggers all kinds of things, so that anything that happens there is given instantly a negative connotation, and it's not deserved. And in my experience, which is extremely limited, I would love to have more experience, but I'm not there, and I'm not going to try to tell anyone exactly how they should go about doing their ghost hunting, etc. But in my experience, I never walked into a situation and felt threatened in any way. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, most of the time spirits just seem to be curious about what we're all about. Why were we there? And hey, I'm still here too. And this is why. And I mean, there's so many things and there's a lot of mystery involved. We don't know. Their communication is so different in spirit realm that we have a hard time. It's like a totally different language to us at times, and we have a hard time of catching up with what they are saying, even though they are under the impression we should understand. And that, to me, I find that quite amusing. And symbolism will play a big role in communication. So, to wrap this up, what I'm saying is, spiritual tools are just that. They are tools. They are tools to be used by a discerning and healthy, mentally healthy person that is ready to accept and understand the little gentle nudges that are being received by our intuition, and be open to receiving instruction and guidance from your higher self. Do not give any extra power to something that is just an object that is there to assist you. Okay? It would be the same as if you decided that your stand mixer in your kitchen was evil and was out to get you. Well, first of all, there's not a lot of proof in that statement, so you have to start from there. Prove that. Now, this is the same. It's the same thing. Basically, you're taking something that is just a tool, and you're empowering it with power it does not deserve. It didn't ask for it, and basically, it's a fear-induced kind of attachment that you might have to that fear. Well, thank you so much for joining us today for episode 33. And we hope that some of what we've talked about today will prove helpful and instructive in some way. If there's anything at all that isn't clear, or you would like to discuss further, or anything you'd like to have me talk about on the Oracle Scroll, please drop me a line at theoraclescroll@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to hear from you. Meanwhile, we'll be preparing for episode 34 coming up soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Oracle Scroll. Please forward any questions, comments, or inquiries to theoraclescroll@gmail.com, and we'll look forward to entertaining you again very soon in the next episode.